Hey everybody, welcome to our teaching corner. Today we moved outside of my office out here into kind of the bigger part of the shop and the showroom. And today I wanted to cover a very simple project that kind of eludes us sometimes. We get really deep into details and some of the big nuggets of things. And I forget sometimes there's a lot of folks out there that have never really done basic diagnostics. And so today will be a first part of a series that we're going to do around simple diagnostics. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some cords and some switches here, and we're going to show how to use an ohm meter. I've got our meter sitting here, and I'll kind of move it up maybe a little more into the center of the stage. And we'll see if we can see that number come up on the screen. I turned it over here to ohms. Ohms is your form of resistance. There's this little omega symbol that also indicates ohms, if you may have that on your meter, or it may say that OHM. OHM, yes, I spelled it right. Sorry, I graduated from public school. Sometimes I spell things wrong. But anyway, ohm meter, resistance. And so what you'll see on the screen right now, if you can make it out, is it says OL, just meaning that it's an open line, meaning there's no circuit. Now the nice thing is this works off the battery of the machine, and so these are powered, and it's a DC type power. And so when we touch these two leads together, it comes to zero resistance or really close to it. And so then in this case, I like it because it has the beeper that goes off, and I don't have to look at the screen to know that I have a good circuit. And so a full, really good circuit is created right here. And you can kind of see that go down near zero. Now, when we have different types of switches, this is a really simple toggle switch, and we have two connectors here for our wires. And what you're taking is it's the hot side of your circuit is going to get switched. That is what controls your on and off. So right here on these two tabs, if we were to touch those, make sure we're in the off position, I'm going to come up and touch these two leads. And when I do, on our screen, it should still say OL. So meaning there is no circuit still because it's shut off. Now I knew it was off in this case because our little keyway or ability to put this in and keep it from rotating in the device, there's a little track right there. That is the off side on all toggles. And so if I flip this the other direction and I come back and I touch our two leads, now we have down to our zero resistance. And so that's showing us that the switch is good. So let's say we have a switch and we want to see, is this switch in good operating condition? We can put the leads on. Maybe we have some alligator clips to hold it there. We're unplugged from our circuit, by the way. We don't want to be under power because we don't want to touch a neutral and this hot and end up making a circuit through us, right? So we would, for safety, we're going to be unplugged. And we would touch those two leads and we would rock the switch back and forth. When we are in the off position, obviously, it's going to say open line. Now, if we flip it over and it's still open line when it should be on, that tells us we have a bad switch. It's that easy. And so let's say, though, it came up and it has high resistance. That's telling you that, so in other words, the numbers come out and it doesn't go down to like 0 point something. It's going to be, let's say it says 8 or 10 or somewhere in that range, and it's just a simple toggle switch. Well, it shouldn't do that, and that's telling you that there's very little connection, and that may be why your device isn't coming on. So a simple thing to do would just be to replace the switch. So that is a very simple one. Now this one has more complication to it. As you can see, this is a lighted rocker switch. It's nothing too much fancier. It's still pretty much the same thing. And then up here on this side, and it's really difficult to see even for me with my face out here, but if I tip it just right, I can make out a 1, a 2, and a 3. And so in that case, what happens is when we look at it, the center contact here is our hot lead when we plug in from a cord. So that's going to be the hot wire off. And then one of these two is going to be to light up the light in the switch. The other is what's going to bring power to the device. So when I touch here, and then this side, it says open line. When I flip it, it stays open line. So that's also a really good indicator that this number 3 on here is our neutral wire. And so if you have a neutral wire that comes from your cord, comes up, and then also that will give a circuit for the light to come on the switch itself. And then typically your neutral wire then goes onto your device. So that's how that is controlled to give you the lighted part of the switch. Then we come in here and we touch the center post and the other lead, and it says open line, and I flip it. And that now should give us zero resistance, or very close to it, because that's the circuit that is going to go out to our motor or our control board or lights, whatever it may be that it's giving power to. And so those are the three tabs, the 1, 2, 3. So 1 and 2 create the circuit that goes to your device, and then the 2, 3 creates the circuit that actually lights up the switch itself and then carries the neutral onto the device. So you've got your neutral and your hot then that turns on the light bulb, let's say. And so that's how that type of switch works. And again, very simple, but important to understand. If we look at a cord is a very similar scenario. And if you've ever looked at the outlet on the wall, and maybe we'll get a picture of that in a little bit, when we go and plug that into the wall, we have 3 different contacts here. So the round one in the bottom on a 3-plug or 3-wire contact is going to be your ground. Then you have 2 leads here, and again, if I look at the wall, one has a wide slot anymore and one has a narrow slot. The wide slot is your neutral, the narrow is your hot wire. So we look here, and what's on this side of the device, or if I'm facing it, it's on my left. If I'm holding it this way, it's on the right, right? But this side is your hot wire. This is your neutral. It's oriented for that with the ground. Now, if this is broken off, this is why OSHA and different things like that would be unhappy with you if you left a cord with this already broken away, because now we can put this in upside down or backward, and now our polarization that is there is not able to protect you and the device. Polarization, that is a term that has to do with where the neutral, your return of electrons, and your hot, the incoming push of the electrons, are coming from. And so what happens in most devices when they have a polarized plug is that the hot wire comes in as controlled very early in the system at the switch. Then the rest of the wiring and everything is neutralized until you activate the switch. So that's where, if we had it backward, now it comes in through that neutral wire, goes all the way through all the windings, everything of the device, and is stopped at the switch. So if we have a moisture situation or other things that could hamper, let's say it's a cracked insulator, something on that device, and you come in contact, the whole thing is a potential for electrocution. So polarization helps prevent the whole mechanism from having potential energy in it that could harm you. And so that's where that comes in. That's why we have that orientation. Very important to maintain that. All right, so if we were going to check those individual wires though, on the other end of the wire we have 3 contacts, or the other end of our cord. So 3 contacts. Green is your neutral in the US model, white is neutral, and black is hot. If we get into Europe and other parts of the world, there's different colors that they use for these. But we're here in the US, so we're going to use those colors. Now what I'm going to do again, I'm going to take, it doesn't matter at this point which lead, we're going to touch our one lead to our green wire, and then the other end is going to come over here to that neutral or that grounding plug, the bottom part. And again, we go to very little resistance. Then I'm going to go to my neutral. And again, if I don't know which one it is, if I've forgotten this part of it, and I look, I can touch this side and there's nothing. I go to the other side and there's my contact. And that's, again, very low resistance. That's the white wire. So that also tells us, polarization-wise, which side is neutral. When we go to our black wire, that should be that other lead. And so if we are good here, nothing, open line, now we get into this side and there's our connection. And so if you were unsure which wire should go in and stop at the switch, that will help you understand which one goes there. Now, if we took away the ground lug, and we just have our more basic tube plug type cord, we're going to have just 2 wires that are going to go into the device, and then you have 2 leads going into the wall. Now if we look at that, we have a narrow prong and we have one that's ballooned out, it's wider. So now that is forced to be oriented to our plug on the wall. Let's say you have an older home and it does not have a polarized plug. So that is something that came into the code later in our history. Some of us aren't old enough to be before that, but we've seen a lot of houses that are still wired without polarization. And in that case, this isn't going to plug in well. What I'm saying is, get an electrician, have that updated. Don't sit there and sand off these edges. That's not the way to do it, right? So we know now which way it plugs in. That's also an indicator for us that we don't have a lot of guesswork. When I put this lead on the one that's wide, I know exactly which one, when I see this end, is the white wire. Oh, I timed out, so we're going to turn this back on. That way, if you do walk away from your meter, it doesn't kill the battery. It'll shut itself off. But we have open line again, and we touch, and there again, there's my 2 ends of that cord, and that tells us exactly where we're at. I go to the other side, plug that in, go to the black wire, there's our circuit. So again, if we had anywhere within this cord where the wire was broken, it would maintain the symbol of open line, meaning there is no circuit even though I'm touching the 2 ends, and that would tell us it's time to replace the cord. Now what happens if I touch these 2 and I know I'm on the wide one here and the white one here, and it still shows a good circuit, but you were having intermittent use of the device. So let's say in our case it's a hair clipper and it was turning on, but then it kind of cuts out, turns on, cuts out, and we're trying to design which thing. Is it the bad switch? Is there something in the motor? Could it be the cord? But when we check the cord, it tests good. One of the things that can be hidden a little bit is inside the insulation, there can be a broken wire, and when it's sitting here kind of in this neutral position, the wire is still touching. And so when we check it, it tests good. So what we have to do is we need to be a little forceful with this and move it in different positions while holding it. And what can happen is then it stretches those 2 components apart from each other, and we find where the broken wire is inside the cord. One other way to do that, and I can use this bigger cord, is I'll drop it to the floor. I'll put my lead on that end. I'll put it on this end, and then I stretch the cord. And what that's doing is it's allowing the insulation, the rubber, to stretch, which happens a lot of times with a cord when it's hot. The rubber gets a little softer, and then it allows it to go ahead and fail. But when the rubber is cold and stiff, it tests good. And that's one of those where it really gets a repairman and catches us off guard. And we're like, oh, we did every test we could do. We couldn't do anything. And so we came up with the idea of, well, how can we stretch that with enough power that we actually separate the wire? Now, if that copper wire is good in there, along with the little, usually cotton to plastic or nylon supports that are in there, you won't be able to pull it apart and break the wire, unless of course you put it between 2 trucks and try to pull it, but it's not a good tow strap. But if we're just pulling on it with our strength, that can be enough to separate a broken wire, but not enough to break the wire itself. If you did break the wire, that's telling you there were only a couple strands left, and it was a good thing you caught it, and that's really still part of the problem with the tool. Anyway, I hope that is something that's really eye-opening, or for those of you that have never done this kind of simple diagnostic. We're going to come up with some other areas in diagnostics that we run across. Like we're also going to talk here in the future about a switch that has a circuit board, and how do we test those. And so again, I appreciate you guys coming. If you liked the video, obviously come over here and hit the like, subscribe to our channel. There's a lot more content behind what we do, and we'll talk to you again soon.